Okay. Alright, so we see we got 2 gas giants here, which actually is not too bad. I was gonna say, oh my god, is that Piazzi 4? But no, that's not how Roman numerals work. And I know this because Final Fantasy. Which I didn't even mention yesterday. Oh my god, I feel a little bit bad. Final Fantasy 2. I finished Final Fantasy 2. And let me tell you, it is... Okay, this is a planet where I probably don't want to have the thing. And goddamn, that ship was super awesome. Really wish I could get the turrets working. Or the turrets could work better. I'm sure now they do. I'm sure there's more substantial reworks and workarounds of the system. Final Fantasy II is a game that I'm like, I cannot believe it is the black sheep of the family. Like, yeah, it has a substantially different system, and in that regard, yes, that makes 100%, that completely makes sense. It's known as, I mean, like, one of the big things about it is it's the game where you can hit yourself and to get more HP. Specifically, like, you upgrade your stats by using them, and the more damage you take, your HP stat grows, and you don't get levels as much as you get just individual stat growths, which is, I mean, kind of the inspiration for a lot of things. I mean, it's not like a one-to-one system with, say, Skyrim, but like, you know, the idea of you don't level up and then put skill points into swords, you just use your sword, is definitely, you know, a thing. And it's not a bad system. There are probably more interesting ways to build to use it. Some interesting ways maybe to limit the thing, and I don't know if there are any limits where, like, you know, because, and I mean, this gets into the Bethesda thing where, like, especially with Fallout 4, well, okay, the difference between, Elder Scrolls 4 and 5 is that, like, your choices matter. How you decide to develop your character in Oblivion actually matters. It makes a difference, you know, like, you have a max level. You can't just max out everything and be super OP. You do actually have to make choices, and those choices matter. Difference between Fallout 3/New Vegas and Fallout 4 as well. And there's some other mechanical things. I don't necessarily hate the idea of you can infinitely develop your character, but there are some, like, there need to be some real practical limits. Like, yes, you could gain, you know, yes, you could get all of the skills, but at the end of the day, you're only going to be using, at any one time, you're only going to be using one weapon. That weapon is going to be doing so much damage and HP, and, like, there was a thing with Fallout 4 where I never really played the campaign. I would just, or any of the main quests, I would just run around and shoot stuff and do base building stuff. And there's some point where I can't enjoy the game anymore because I've, like, leveled up, and the enemies suddenly are just taking too many bullets to kill, and it's like, this is not fun, and I don't care. What am I trying to say? In Final Fantasy II, So it was the Pixel remaster, and I don't know... Well, I increased the amount... You can increase the amount of XP you get, and the amount of gold you get, of the amount of gil you get, by... I think it's either 1 times... You can reduce it, I think, as well. But it can either be 1 times, 2 times, or 4 times, and probably half as much as well, if you want to challenge yourself. I did, for Final Fantasy II, I set it to 4 for both of them. And, you know, there's other things, skill points and AP, depending on which game you're talking about. And some other things as well. That was maybe a little bit of a mistake, because I got skills very, very fast. And I'm streaming them. I don't want to spend a huge amount of time grinding. It's a really helpful feature, especially if you're... if it was a game that was a generation before you, as it was with me. So, like... And this episode is going to be a little bit longer, goddammit, because this is important. What was I going to say? So important, I forgot. But yeah, no, it's, it is important, because it just is way more accessible, and I had a very good time with Final Fantasy II. If I didn't have access to any guides, if I didn't know some information, you know, in advance, if that, you know, it would have been a different, you know, if I wasn't leveling up as fast as I was, you know, it would have been a different story, definitely. If I had to grind, I think I would have enjoyed it still. If I had to grind more, I would have enjoyed it still, but... I mean, there's a lot of things... I honestly really think that Final Fantasy II would be a great game to make a remake for. I don't know what Final Fantasy VII Remake looks like, and really, I'm actually extremely curious, because... Oh my god. The idea of expanding on the world... On any of the worlds, like, there's a solid game there, if not the best story, if not the most developed characters, all Final Fantasies, really, at the end of the day. You know, there's worlds that they could have expanded on, and they never decided to do that, which was a choice. Not a terrible choice, but, you know, just an interesting choice nonetheless. And yeah, I think at the end of the day, I'm sorry, what was I going to say specifically about that? Because I was relating it all to the Final Fantasy II leveling system, progression system specifically. Oh yeah, I mean, there are some limits that I don't know, or some limitations that I don't know. Like, I had Guy using dual axes, and Guy was able to level up axes to level 16, or the axe skill to level 16, which is the max level. And Furion was using swords and shields, and then swords and staves, and then at the end of the game, sword and sword. And yeah, that was a whole thing. But Furion never went past level 10 for sword, and I don't know why, and I don't know how. Guy was very much literally only focused on building up axes and melee attacks and all that. So it might have something to do with you can't actually master everything at once, Furion was also using magic, so that also had to have could have potentially played a role into things. So, you know, there is something there, and some limitations. And definitely some kind of limitation system there is not bad. In my tabletop RPG, the current plan I don't think is to have any of those limitations, but it's just you earn stuff like that very, very slowly. I wouldn't mind as a tabletop RPG. I don't want to put in like oh, you can only get this skill if you have level 2 sword. Because that's... Maybe if I was making a video game adaptation of it, and, you know, like, you don't have to calculate that thing, then maybe I would. But, you know, it's a whole thing. Yeah, what else? I don't know. I'm really excited to go to check out Final Fantasy III because that's where a lot of the job system like really started to take off. I do need to make sprites for that, so that's gonna be fun. Gotta see if there's a Final Fantasy III character builder actually, now that I think about it. Yeah. So, yeah, Final Fantasy II is really great. I mean, I don't know if I'm super crazy about the story, but it felt like there was a story being told. And even though, you know, maybe it's not the most, you know, even if it's not necessarily the most gripping, it is a story to latch onto and a tale to listen to. And yeah, like, again, there could be a lot that was... It could have been expanded upon, but it was really good. Until next time, have a good day. Great day even. Chaskies.